Dear friends, how are you all? I hope all of you are doing fine. And we are in seventh day, second session. For all the participants of this faculty development program, I welcome back once again. And today we are introducing a wonderful resource person, Dr. Chandana Eswar. I welcome you, Madam, for this faculty development program and to the College of Horticulture, Koppal, virtually. And Dr. Chandana Eswar, she has completed her PhD in Bangalore University in the year 2017. And in the year 2008 to 2010, she has completed her Masters of Physical Education. Thereafter, she also got the certificate in Food and Nutrition from the IGNOU University and certificate in Yoga Foundation in the year 2006 even. Thereafter, she started working in presently she is working as a guest faculty in University College of Physical Education, Bangalore. Before that, she worked as a research scholar as a JRF in University College of Physical Education, Bangalore. And also, she worked as guest faculty as well as assistant director of physical education between July 2010 to May 2012. Apart from all this work experience, she is also a freelance swimming trainer, acted as a freelance swimming trainer in the year 2000, in the duration 2017 to 2019. And also, she is having some voluntary experience under YHAI for cycling expedition in Nainital. And there are so many awards and scholarships she is having, and she has awarded Junior Research Fellow UGC JRF National Eligibility Test, and she has passed that exam in the year 2014, and also a first rank meritorious scholar from the Bangalore University in the year 2010, and she has awarded with the 2 gold medals. A wonderful journey of education she is having, and also she has published many articles. One is as an academician, Chandana has published and presented research literature on various aspects. Those are on women health, sports, fitness and nutrition, and even on physiological and psychological aspects of a sports person. And she has participated in many sports outdoor activities like international level participation in Women's World Baseball Series and in national level participation in baseball 2011, 2004, 2004. There are so many years, and all India inter university participation in softball and also intercollegiate level participation in cricket, baseball, softball, and throwball. And undertook a two women cyclist expedition from Manali to Leh. All these are the wonderful experiences she is having. We are so Hyderabad for the training 10 days training program, and welcome you, Dr. Chandana Eswar. Please take over.
Thank you so much for your lovely introduction, sir. Before I move on to my topic, good afternoon, everybody present here. And I would firstly like to thank the University of Horticultural Science, Bagalkot, and College of Horticulture, Koppal for this wonderful session that they've given all the youngsters. Would especially like to thank Dr. Krishna Yadav sir for giving the youngsters this platform to present our views. So shall I share my PPT now?
Yes, madam. Yeah, sure.
Is the presentation visible, sir?
Yes, yes, it's visible. Yes, yes, madam, it's visible.
Thank you, sir. My topic being importance of women to indulge in physical activities. So we women, as we've all studied about how women play an important role in the society, and how much have we actually seen as to how much of support we give women when it comes to actually taking care of their own health. So as I go on further with this topic, uh, let's first see a few differences between the male and the female structure. I'm pretty sure all of us have studied this during our bachelor's and master's, but just a recap of it. So as we all know, when it comes to the strength, men are typically over 30% more stronger than women, and this is especially in their upper body. And when it also comes to when, let's consider jogging. So if the men are using 50% of their capacity to jog a particular distance, the same distance, a woman would probably need around 70% of her capacity. So here we see on how it is actually different in men and in women. So one of the major important aspects which I would like all of us to consider is these differences are mainly because of the hormones. So when considering the hormones, we see that the men have a higher concentration of testosterone, whereas the women are higher in the concentration of estrogen. So this plays the most vital role of the differences we see among the men and female and the strength and the structures. So I can go on about it, but as I just wanted to brush up about this is before we go ahead. So next, we see the different stages of a human life cycle. The different stages of a human life cycle is the same when it comes to male and female. As we go on and talk about the few differences we usually see. So we have birth, which is from the fertilization to about 40 weeks. And post that we have infancy. So once the child's born to about around 1 year of age is infancy. Childhood is from the age of 1 to about till someone reaches puberty. Then we have adolescence around 10 to 24 years, and then adulthood, which is about 18 years of age. So as we go on, what are the different add-ons we see when it comes to women's life? So the reproductive phase is the most important aspect for a woman's life because uh, whatever process she goes throughout her life is for the phase of reproduction. So when we talk of the reproductive phase, it is segregated in this picture. We can see on how it is segregated into these three different stages. So it is the menarche. So menarche is the first menstrual cycle of a woman. The first time she bleeds is called the menarche. As girls usually get their first period between 10 to 16 years. So this is around 2 to 2.5 years once they start their puberty. Then we have something called as menstruation. So once she starts her menarche, so then she goes into the phase of menstruation, where this is the sign that she will be able to get pregnant or conceive. And this is for quite a duration, which is to around 45 years of her age. And then she reaches this phase called as menopause, where there is this natural cessation of the menstrual cycle. So she stops her regular menstrual cycle or stops her bleeding. So in this diagram, in the phases of menstruation in a women's cycle, here we see on how women have a long duration of menstrual phase, whereas she has this regular bleeding probably until and unless she doesn't get pregnant or till she reaches her menopause, she will have this regular cycle of bleeding. That's the moon cycle or the 28-day cycle, where she bleeds across approximately for around, say, 3 to 5 days. So this varies from individual to individual. So as we go on, so this is the face of women. I wanted to talk about this is because you'll just get a understanding before I go ahead and talk of why it is important for women to indulge in activities. And we also forget, being physical education teachers, that once we're giving activities as to the face of, like if you're in a training college or even if you're giving an activity for a team, we consider everybody the same. If we're giving uh, activity for a woman, we also need to consider her menstrual cycle before giving any particular activity. So next, as we go on, we'll see as to what fuels our body for an activity. So what is this that we talk of activity, and why do we need to think of what fuels it? What gives our body the energy? The daily routine of any individual is not simple, and it involves numerous activities which actually require a lot of energy. Here, when we talk about energy, I'm basically talking about the calories which we burn. So I'm pretty sure you'll all remember the definition of of what is a calorie. So, or you have the understanding of what is calorie. It is the amount of heat which is needed to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. So this is what helps us get energy. So the conversion of energy. So the calorie burnt is dependent on the age, height, weight, sex, and level of physical activity that they involve in. So it depends on the activity that an individual is involved in, along with the age that the requirement of calories depend on. So there is this basic calorie chart which we see we find it along in most of the places. We also can calculate on what calories we require by, you have a lot of formulas on the internet which gives you a better picture based on your personal details. So here, this is a small calorie chart which is there for the girls and women. So you see on an approximate, if you see in this chart, on an approximation, it is not exactly 200 calories, but it depends on our activity we involve in, our age, and see you have not active, somewhat active, and very active. So it depends on what activity we involved in to know on how much of calories we need to consume. So on an average, a nursing mother, so a mother who's nursing a child burns around 425 to 700 calories per day, which actually increases her normal calorie intake from say around 2000 or 2400 or 1800 calories to around 3000 calories during that period. So as we have had our very informative sessions on nutrition and diet, it's already done earlier by Dr. Bhuvneshwari, Dr. Tipanna, Dr. Tilak, and Dr. Raghavendra. I will not be talking about the same. So we will go into more details as to what women need to indulge in, why women need to indulge in sports or any kind of a physical activity for that matter. So as I was going through a few of the literature, I found this very interesting study which I would like to share with you all. This study is from St. Luke's Medical Center in Chicago. So this study states that lack of exercises actually hurt women more. So when we say hurt women more, what are they talking about? So this study shows that uh, anybody who's into poor physical fitness, so the risk of death actually rises. Even risk of death is higher when compared to men. So women have more risk of death if they don't involve in a physical activity. So this in this research study, so they followed around 5,721 women. So they had an average age of 52, and they followed them from 1992 to 2000. So this is a pretty old study, but it is pretty interesting as well at the same time. So none of these women had any kind of a heart disease, but many of them had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and they were diabetic, or they had huge risk factors of heart diseases. So the subjects here were subjected to a pre-test and a post-test, a physical fitness test, which was done pre and post. So what did this study come up with was, your women who indulged in regular physical activity reduce the risk of death for over the next 8 years by 17%. So they involved in regular physical activity, the risk of death for them reduced by 17%. And the same thing doubled, the risk of death doubled for those women who just involved in leisure physical activity. And then it tripled if women were hardly involved in any kind of physical activities. So a similar research study which was done for men found that if men involved in regular physical activity, they actually had only 7.9% decrease in risk of death. So when you compare the 17% to the 7.9%, that's a huge difference. So women, I think you need to pull up your socks and then start getting more active so that you actually reduce the risk of death. And the men, please start promoting women to get more fitter. So when it comes to who, according to who, so women generally tend to live longer with non-communicable diseases than men. But even if women live longer, we see to that they often have poor health conditions, because one of the main reasons is do not involve in any kind of a physical activity. So let's see what happens due to lack of physical activity. So most of these points, what I'm be talking, is common among male and female. But as I talk about these points, I will tell you why it is important for women to indulge in physical activity as well. So lack of physical activity can lead to many health problems. This ranges from mild to chronic. So all these are interlinked. So it increases the risk of obesity. So this is one of the most leading problems in most of the countries. It may be most of the developed countries and some of the developing countries as well. The increased risk of diabetes, which affects more than, so according to who, it increases the risk of diabetes. It increases the risk of diabetes in women, like 70 million women in the world are prone to diabetes, and this figure might double when by say 2025. And there is also an increased risk in cardiovascular diseases, so which more than one-third of the population of women are subjected to die of a cardiovascular disease. And when it comes to above 50 women, more than half of them die of cardiovascular diseases. So lack of physical activity also increases the risk of cancers. So one of the most important points is osteoporosis. So women are more prone to osteoporosis post menopause. So the level of estrogen drops in women once they stop menstruation. So we usually see that women start taking calcium supplements. This is mainly so that you do not have brittle bones. So once an individual sees, here, why is the risk of osteoporosis? Why would I kind of stress on this? Is because if women do not indulge in physical activity from a very early age, their bone mass is going to reduce at a more rapid stage after the age of 35. Approximately around 5% of their bone mass starts reducing, and involving in a physical activity then is not going to help much. Whereas if an individual starts indulging in physical activity way prior, you're reducing the risk of the rapid reduction in your bone mass. So, and you're less prone to osteoporosis. So, one of the most important reasons. And then, so immunity is very low. As we all know, right now, because of COVID, we keep talking about immunity, and once we say immunity, we start considering immunity from now. We say, okay, I've been running from the past 1 week, from the past 1 month, but immunity is not something which develops immediately. It's a phase. So once we inculcate physical activity, once we inculcate being fit in our lives for a good long period, until and unless we do not do that, we cannot develop immunity overnight. So it is important we start and we continue and it goes on. We actually face a problem of not inculcating the activities in our life, and we see that once it needs to be like how we have our 3 meals a day, or sometimes 4 or 5, or sometimes 2 meals a day. So it is important that we inculcate physical activities in our lives at the in a same portion. So like it's not like I skip a meal. We never skip meals. And there's something like a dessert, we want to have more. So inculcating physical activity into our lives needs to be given the same importance. So emotional instability due to lack of exercise and mood swings. So this is again very important for women, is because women face anxiety, they feel depressed, usually during the phase of premenstrual syndromes. So in my study, what I have done, my thesis for PhD was mainly about premenstrual syndromes among athletes and non-athletes. And I found wonderful results on how women actually are affected mentally as well as physically because of not indulging in regular physical activity. It is not overdoing physical activity or underdoing the physical activity. So lungs do not function properly and the risk of lung related disorders are high. The metabolic system does not work properly, and this is one of the reasons that we see obesity. So when you're not using up your energy, we see to that our metabolic system also gets sluggish, and then we start to become more obese. The lack of muscle. So without physical activity, we lack muscle and bone strength, which creates a huge problem as we go further. So according to who? So most of it I have referred and looked into what who says, is because it's the World Health Organization. It's not just a picture of India, but throughout the world. When it comes to physical uh, inactivity globally, 1 person in every 4 adults are not active enough, and more than 80% of the adolescents worldwide are they do not involve in enough physical activity. So this is what who's come up with. So this, whatever I spoke about, was lack of physical activity. What happens because of that? Now we can see the benefits of physical activity. So when it comes to the benefits of physical activity, regular physical activity can improve women's overall health and fitness, and it promotes very good mental health. So I'll talk about when it comes to physical health. Physical activity prevents many infectious diseases and reduce the risk of lot of diseases, and it boosts our immunity. As said earlier, we involve in physical activity also to boost our immunity. It improves the muscle and the cardiorespiratory fitness, which also improves the bone and functional health. So when we consider fitness, we're talking of the overall fitness. It might be our cardiorespiratory fitness, it might be our bone mass, it helps in improving our bone mass, it helps in functional health, it helps in mental health, and well, it helps in proper functioning of the heart. Cardiovascular disease, risk of cardiovascular disease reduces due to the same. So there is a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. So women are more prone to diabetes, as we already saw. So it reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes. So exercise helps in keeping arthritis and away, and it also helps in clearing up the arteries and veins. So the blood flow is way better and it clears up the arteries and veins. It reduces the harmful cholesterol and fat in the blood. So it strengthens the lungs. So right now we talk about a lot of problems in the lungs like pulmonary edema due to COVID. So we also talk of how it strengthens the lungs, probably activities like some pranayama, long jog, endurance. It improves the lung capacity, and constant air moving in and out of the lungs also strengthens it. Physical activity improves the energy levels and makes one more energetic and active. So once you involve in physical activity, you have more energy and you're more active. It doesn't put your energy down, but rather it fills you up with more energy. It can improve balance and coordination. So when it comes to older elderly people or older adults who are physically active, they can reduce their risk of fall and improve their ability to do their daily activities. So we usually see this happen when it comes to elders. So lack of balance, you see a lot of incidences, are you hear your relative, one of your old relatives probably has fallen off in a bathroom or slipped over some water. This is because they lack balance as they get older. They lack their muscle coordination. So this reduces the risk. When you're physically active, you are better to take such impacts. It also helps build a perfect body posture. So perfect body posture, I will talk about it as well when it comes to mental and emotional health. So being physically active can improve sleep. So when you have actually involved in your physical activity and you had a good day, you actually can sleep really well is because your body is more at a it is in a state of homeostasis and you feel really good about the entire process and your body feels good and you can sleep well. So insomnia is also prevented. So you also improve the improve your flexibility. So once flexibility is improved, the risk of injuries are also reduced. So the next point when it comes to mental and emotional health. So physical activities has also been associated a lot with improving psychological health. This is particularly important for women where depression is reported, like depression among women is close to double when compared to men. So this is both in developing countries as well as developed countries. So women are more prone to depression. I'm not saying men don't go through depression, but women are more prone. So it reduces. So being physically active reduces the level of stress, anxiety, and depression. It contributes to building self-esteem, it confidence, as well as equality of women in the society is also seen. So once there is more self-esteem and confidence which is developed in a person, automatically their body posture changes. So until and unless you're confident, you cannot. You usually find it difficult to be upright to carry yourself good. You need to feel good about your body. You need to feel good about who you are to be more confident. So this will be important to make an individual more confident is to be involved in some kind of a physical activity. So it increases the mental awareness. It also helps emotional well-being. So it's a must to be involved in physical activity, especially when it comes to mental and emotional health. So physical activities improve social skills. So when we talk of social skills, so by involving oneself in physical activity, we get to interact with various people. We also learn on how to handle success and defeat. So when it comes to the society, you tend to meet new people. Probably if you're in a game, you tend to talk to different people. You probably, you know, have a nice volleyball match or a basketball match or even a cricket match, and then you football match. You tend to, meet new people, interact with them. You win, you lose, and then soon after your game you're going out with the same people for probably a chai or some snacks. So it helps in developing social skills as well. So now one of the most important factors what we usually neglect is the barriers to physical activity for women. So we talk so much about fitness, so we spoke about the lacunas of what happens, we speak about the benefits. Now, what are the barriers when it comes to physical activity for women? So, physical inactivity is generally more prevalent among girls and women than in male. Many factors hinder the participation of women in physical activity and their access to healthcare. So, there are a lot of factors. So, I'll just state a few factors which causes a hindrance for women to actually be involved in physical activity. So usually when we talk of women, the income of women is often lower than the men, and therefore the cost of accessing physical activity facilities may be a barrier. So when your income's low, and if someone wants to use a nice good gym and they cannot kind of probably meet up those demands because they also have other commitments. So next, approval may be required from a senior member of the household. So if they are young, probably going, they college going children, they need approval from a senior member of the household. And usually you see if a girl goes and tells her the senior member in the family saying, I want to go to the gym, can I enroll? They'll be like, why do you want to go to the gym? So usually, not saying in all cases, but most of the cases. But for the boys, it's a different story. So this is another thing we see when it comes to women. Women often have a lot of workload at home, as well as women have been the caregiver. They've taken up the caregiver role for the members of the family, which may be a huge limitation for them to get some kind of a time out of what they are engaged in throughout. Women who have limited mobility, so women have limited mobility and they may also face this difficulty of traveling to probably a gym or the activity facility, so they probably will find it hard. So this is another hindrance we see. So cultural expectations, most important in probably the developing countries, cultural expectations may may restrict the participation of women in certain forms of physical activity. So we see not all the cultures do let women take part in or indulge in physical activities, because once they step out of the house, so they have a lot of other norms to follow, and which actually gets very difficult for women to even travel around when it comes to you know moving around to places. So as just an experience of mine. I went to probably, I do not a lot of cycling, a bit of cycling and a bit of long distance running. So once, if I have to actually get out of the house at 4 in the morning, it is difficult for me if I have to go solo. Because once you have to go move and go solo for cycling, safety concerns are at high risk. And the safety concerns are not because of the women, it's mainly because of the men. Sorry to say this, but this is the fact, is because it is not a very pleasant scenario when you go out, or probably when you have people driving or riding on the roads, and you're cycling on the road, tend to push you off. So this is something I've seen, and especially it's not taken well. Okay, let me not go ahead with that. So that's a different topic to talk about. So other than the mentioned points, there are a few more points like lack of time. So we see women, they are so active throughout the day, but it's active not because of physical fitness. The activity, they start off from early morning, they wake up early morning before everyone's off the bed, because they need to probably give the kids milk, the elders coffee, tea, so and so. So they begin their chores before everyone at home, and they only wind up once everyone goes to bed. So this is a day-long program. We never actually consider this as work because it doesn't make money. So lack of motivation. So women needs to get support from the family to take care of her health. So if just think of it, like during this lockdown period, we see a lot of people, a lot of women go through a lot more depression and a lot of stress, is because she has to not only handle her, probably if she's working, her work from home, but also she has to see to that there's food, there's snacks, everything being provided as on time as well. And so they actually lose out that so-called me time when they do not get enough support and motivation. So if they have a good if they have someone who can very well support them, motivate them, say, okay, I'll take care of so and so chores, and then you go take care of your health, get some time for yourself. And this is kind of motivating. So hopefully, post this, we have a lot of people who start motivating the female at home with said asking them to take care of their health. So next, parenting demands. So it's not easy being a mother. Her responsibilities of parenting starts off from the thought of conceiving, and it doesn't stop until the child becomes a responsible individual. This does not mean that the responsibility of parenting lies entirely on the mother. It is very important for us not to put that weight on the mother's shoulders. And it is, as this is a patriarchal society, I think it is high time that both the man and the wife see to that the parenting responsibility does not lie only solely on the mother, but it is shared. The scenarios of late are changing a lot. Yes, both are taking equal responsibilities, which is wonderful. But still, by the end of the day, we should see to that the parenting responsibilities are not solely on the mother. So all of this makes her lack energy. So the entire day's work, responsibilities make her lack energy, which doesn't kind of push her or motivate her to go and indulge in any kind of an activity. Health conditions. So being a caregiver, most of the time a woman is a caregiver. So what happens being a caregiver all the time, it does not allow her to take care of her own health, which usually leads to many health complications. And then we see gender stereotyping. The role of men and women given by the society acts as a major drawback to most of the women. So we stereotype men do this, women do this. This is the role of man, this is the role of women. Things are changing, which is wonderful. The role of the women has changed, but we hopefully will see the role of the man also being changed. Earlier, we used to consider the role of the women only confined to the kitchens and homes. Now we see women step out, work, actually step out and do most of the physical activity, but along with that, she has an additional responsibility of taking care of the house. So if this role, gender stereotyping role, can be actually distributed among men and women equally, this would give a breathing space for women to also participate in any kind of a physical activity. So a lot of times we talk of being physically active. It needn't always have to be sports and games. There are a few incidental exercises which we can actually, or some kind of an activity which we can involve in. A few minor changes which we can start off with if you've never taken part in physical activity, or if you want to motivate someone, as most of us here being teachers or working in an institution, if you want to motivate someone, ask them to firstly stop using a vehicle or any kind of mode of transport to reach a destination which is close by home. So someone asks you at home to get something. You say, okay, fine, take the vehicle, ride up, ride down, get what you want. So instead of doing that, if we could just walk it up, instead of taking a vehicle, use stairs instead of an elevator or an escalator. Use the stairs. Play actively with your children. If you have children around at home, play with them. So this doesn't just improve your physical, it doesn't just improve your fitness, but also helps you bond with your child. So we do not do that. We let our children play. Say, okay, go play. We're busy on our phones. So we can just keep the phones aside. Just go play with the children for a bit, which would actually help us bond, make a better bonding with our children. Listen to your favorite music or listen to the radio and just dance and just that would also help. Do things for yourself in do things for yourself instead of using probably labor or some machines. Or you can also get your whole family to be involved in some kind of a weekly activity. It could include like take your family out, all of you will go together to a park or so for a walk or to a hike, play cricket, cycle around, go swim. So these are some activities which you could also involve in, or which will help you improve your fitness at least to some extent to start off with, and how you could probably motivate somebody. So how do you start indulging in physical activity gradually? So this is also to motivate others to start off with physical activity. So an activity which you would have loved to actually involve in when you're in your childhood. So you start off with that activity. Take time out of what you have understood, like what you've loved to play or what you've loved to do as a child. So then this will give you physical, emotional, and your social needs are kind of satisfied. Find an exercise buddy, which is most important. So find, not most, I would rather say it is pretty important. Finding an exercise buddy will kind of motivate you and the other person. So you're lazy today, you don't want to get up. Then probably your exercise buddy drops in a message or calls and says, okay, no, I'm starting. Then you're forced to pull up your socks, you're forced to go on and do your activity. If not, you get so demotivated if you have to do it by yourself. Until and unless you're a self-motivated person, this is in the beginning, it's always a problem. So you always can always find an exercise buddy. Sorry, export to the explore the local community. So when it comes to local community, talk of joining a club or join like could be happy clubs in the parks, yoga classes or the gym, or taking part in activities such as a hike, an organized program by somebody, or having a swimming or going for a swim. So get involved with the local community where you can actually meet new people, and meeting new people will always help in improving our social skills. So next is you need to be kind to yourself and make sure you have a medical checkup before you starting. This is if you have a long break, please see to that you have a medical checkup before you start off, and especially if you're over 40, if you are overweight, or if you have any kind of a chronic illness, so just get a medical check before you start an activity. Start small. So if you know someone who's starting for the first time, don't give them a target of running 10 kilometers, or don't give them a target of, you know, going to the gym and lifting weights which are more than 5 kilos. Start off small. So it is important you increase your activity time and increase gradually. So if you cannot start off with 30 minutes a day, start off with 10 minutes a day. Just get up, go for a small walk. That's fine, start small. And mixing your activity up is another important thing. You should not keep monotony in your activity. Don't get up and go for a walk every day or a jog every day. Try to mix it up. Go for a jog one day, go for a hike one day, go cycle one day. So mixing up your activities will keep you will keep your interest high, and it will also challenge different muscle groups in your body. So you will not be working on the same muscle group. So taking up new challenges. So when I talk of taking up new challenges, just sign up for a probably local run, a run in around in your colony, which probably is for a good cause, or sign up for a competition, which is probably to your. So if you have a target, then you know you're going to. You have a long-term goal. You start fulfilling your short-term goals. Be realistic. So when you're being realistic, set a mixture of long-term and short-term and long-term goals, so which should be achievable. So I will not say today I'm going to do say planks for 5 minutes and tomorrow I want to do planks for 10 minutes. So the jump needs to be realistic. So progression of load comes into picture. Your progression should always be gradual. So your load and intensity should go along in the same manner. Do not beat yourself up. So if you miss a session, it's okay. It's okay to miss a session. It is important on how you feel about the exercises. The exercises or your activity should make you feel good, and it shouldn't be a burden saying, oh, I skipped my activity today. So that is something which we would not want to see. So another important aspect is keeping a diary or a journal. So you can just take a few minutes in your day to to just keep a small journal on how or what activity you're doing and how that activity is making you feel. So you keep a track of your progress as well. So one of the most important things is reward yourself. It's always nice when you reward yourself. So you could always say, if I reach this target of fitness by this period, I will probably go out to the beach for a walk or go for a nice hike, or I would probably get a new jersey for myself if I'm into cycling. So something as such, you could always reward yourself when you reach a goal or a target. So, irrespective of all these barriers, we still see a lot of women indulging in physical activity. So, indulging in physical activity is mainly because they would probably feel good, they have fun, they can improve their physical and their mental health, and they can manage their weight. Most of the women do that, involve in physical activity for the same, or probably they just want to have some time for themselves. And that's why they would probably want to involve in some kind of a physical activity. So I hope everyone's following as to what I'm saying as of now, and I'm pretty sure during the question and answer sessions we could clarify a few questions if you have. So as I go ahead, physical activity in different age groups. So it is recommended that at least 30 minutes. So this is recommended for most, like it could be any age group, but 30 minutes of a moderate intensity physical activity is very preferable on all days. So this will help you maintain a good health. So we see children. There is so this is the same for women and men, and so we hardly see any women meet these guidelines. So see, there are reasons. Yes, when it comes to women, probably you cannot go out for an early morning walk because you have probably have to make breakfast by the time probably your husband's gone out for a walk, or probably your child's gone out for the fitness. You are concerned about their schedule, so you tend to be in the kitchen and you skip out your own workout. So this usually happens. So most of the time, that's the reason for women to skip out on their physical activity. So when it comes to children up to puberty, they do not show much of a difference in their body composition. So we've studied this, right? So in our bachelor's and master's, a lot of children, so children up to puberty are not do not show much of a difference. But what happens, we physical education teachers or parents or even the caregivers are the ones who actually play a major role. I think we should take the responsibility of demotivating girls in taking part in physical activity, which most of the scenario right now is probably hopefully changing. We hoping it's changed and it's changing to the better. So we demotivate girls most of the time when they're at a young age. So boys are encouraged. You see our grounds. I'm pretty sure most of us are into walking and jogging right now because most of the gyms are closed. We try to cope up with our fitness by going elsewhere. You see, just have a look around. See how many girls you see how many boys you see, look at their age groups. Just a pure observation you need to have. You see how there are hardly any girls in comparison to boys. Probably if you see 10 boys, you would want to even see one girl around in the ground. When I go for a jog, if in the ground you have men, you have boys, you have people of all age groups, and most of them are men. And probably I see three girls in the ground. So you see the difference. So why this happens is because boys are encouraged to be in football, basketball, cricket. You can name them, and they are into all kinds of activities under the sun because they're boys and they can go play, is what we usually say. Girls are directed towards something within the area of traditional feminine games. Like probably you ask them to play hopscotch or play around the house, go play hide and seek, treat, treasure hunt, and so this or go play hula hoop. So this makes the girls even more physically inactive. So when you don't push them to their capacity or their capability, you're making them inactive at that very young age. Girls may feel, so the girls may not feel that pressure of getting into a physical activity, or getting into a sports, and they feel the pressure of social barriers. You see, uh, going and you hardly see girls go out and play cricket with a group of boys because it's a social barrier which we had created. And the expectation from girls in terms of performance is low. So this has a very negative consequence of on women's health when it comes to long run. When it comes to her future, she herself, because of lack of physical activity, we see she faces many health problems. So as I go next, for better understanding of activities, so here's a small table which is classified in activities are classified into different groups according to moderate intensity, according to their intensity, moderate or vigorous. So you can just have a look at this. So when we talk of moderate intensity, because I'll be talking about a few moderate intensity and vigorous intensity physical activity. So moderate involves brisk walk, dancing, gardening, and so on, and vigorous involves probably walk, race, jogging, running, jumping ropes, aerobics, so such kind of activities. So next, when it comes to recommended activities, so let's talk about. So most of these activities, when I talk of recommending activities for children, I've just spoken about this entire. I spoke about the women's cycle. So when we talk about that, most of it is similar for children up to probably puberty or adolescence, and then the activity varies for women, and then it is the same, similar, not same, I would say probably very similar for the activities are similar for the elderly people or the old age. So children and adolescents aged 5 to 7 years, they should do at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activities daily. So children have more energy, children are in that phase of growth and development. So please see to that. You have a child at home, or if you're in schools, promote, push them to get into some kind of activity, at least for 60 minutes a day. This helps in growth and development. We as physical education teachers, we also need to consider or keep some points in mind. Things like age appropriate activities, activities which are according to their age. uh, for example, when a child starts off, we want to develop their big muscles. So you try to, ask children to involve in gymnastics or swimming. So age appropriate activities. So more skill activities as they grow older. So three types of activities to throughout all age groups: aerobic, muscle and bone building activities, and please give them a variety of activities. So when it comes to aerobic activities, so would probably say moderate or vigorous activities. They should be done. Vigorous activities mainly should be done at least 3 days a week, and moderate activities for the other 3 days, or it can go either ways. So as said earlier, for children of this age, probably moderate intensity aerobic activities would be something like bicycle riding, brisk walk, or anything like active recreation such as hiking. So examples of vigorous activities would be activities like running, playing tag, football, basketball, jumping ropes, or getting involved in martial arts, or sports such as hockey, cricket, basketball, swimming, tennis, so and so. Muscle strengthening activity. Yes, children can involve in muscle strengthening activity, but where? Not in the gym. So up to puberty, because most of the hormones are not completely developed, wouldn't recommend children going to the gym. So it's always better once they start off their post puberty. Once their growth and development has reached the peak, you start on with training them in the gym for muscle strengthening. So 60 minutes, at least 3 days a week for muscle strengthening. So you can ask children to involve in activities like gymnastics and swimming, as I said, or using the jungle gym. So probably older children, like a little towards the older side, they can start with push-ups, pull-ups, light weightlifting, modified push-ups, basically. And weightlifting is, I'm not talking of, you don't have to always use dumbbells. You can always have alternative training, like, fill some bottles with sand, or use a very light resistance band. And so, some of the activities could be like tug of war, modified push up, rope climbing trees, rope climbing, or sit ups. So, these could be for muscle strengthening, and bone strengthening activities again 3 days a week, like weight bearing activities, light weight bearing activities like hopping, jumping, own body weight they'd be using, skipping, running, activities like basketball, gymnastics. or games like volleyball, tennis, very mild, moderate weights which they can use. So as we go, I would also like so what I would actually like to tell you all is see, children learn from what they see. It's not about telling them. It's not about telling them go stop screen time, go involve in activities. As most of the children are at home right now, and they're so used to the screen because of online classes, and so it's not about you. You cannot kind of they almost kind of getting addicted to the screen. So it's not about the screen time. It's not about telling them go for a jog or take care of your fitness. It's us who set an example for the children who are at home or in school. Imagine we see most of us after our after studying, after our training in our training colleges, we stop activities completely once we get a job. But what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to be examples for the children. So once they look at you, they see, oh yeah, sir comes early, he jogs, or ma'am comes early, she jogs, she runs, she takes care of her health. And that's how you set an example. For children, it's important you set an example and not just tell them. And when you're buying toys for children, see to that you get something which encourages them to be physically active and not, sit and play in one spot. See to that you get some toys which make them more physically active. So do not constantly correct children. Let them be. You can guide them. Let them learn through exploring for themselves. Let them make minor mistakes. Let them fall. Let them understand for themselves to a great extent. That will help in exploring. So this is another thing. And with all of this, make sure that the children get enough water and they get good nutritious food and ample rest. So what we usually do as teachers, once they in class, once kids come and be like, ma'am, water, sir, water, be like, no, drink after the class. We need to understand water is so important that we shouldn't let our body get dehydrated. So here is also rest is something which we would also have to take care of. So as we go on, we talk of adults who are aged between 18 to 64 years. So as stated here, so most of these recommendations are by who and by the Indian Council. So say 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity. So that's around 30 minutes each day. Or you can also you can also involve or indulge in physical activity, which is of high intensity for around 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes each day. So if you want additional health benefits, you need to involve in a physical activity for around 60 minutes each day. Muscle strengthening activities are a must. Should be involved. Mainly, you should get your major muscle groups to be involved. This is for around 2 to 3 days a week, which would actually help an individual. So, guys, I'll go ahead and talk about that as well. So, considering the facts for how women can make a few suggestions for how for women, or you can give the women is so physical activity during menstrual phase. So, what usually happens during that phase of menstruation? The first week. So on the first day of your period, the estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone are these hormones which have which create this which create your menstrual cycle. So when estrogen and progesterone levels are at the lowest, so this it may be easier to get active during this week, the first week after your menstrual cycle. The second week, your energy levels begin to go up. So estrogen levels begin to rise very quickly because this is the period of ovulation. So then you have more energy, you're more active, you're more excited to go for your physical activity. So in the third week, when the estrogen level drops, and the progesterone level begins to rise, you actually feel sluggish, tired, and you're not in a very good mood to go out and do an activity. So this happens so, and it's you're not in your best mood, but do go out for a workout, or go do some kind of a physical activity, because uh, especially early in the morning, because your energy levels will not drop down to a great extent. So the fourth week, and why am I talking about the estrogen and progesterone and these weeks is because when you're giving workouts to your students, teachers, you need to keep this in mind. Is probably not always that this varies for each individual. So you will not have students coming and giving reasons saying this is my time of the month. These are my days I'm going to have my menstrual cycle. So I will not be able to take part in activities. It's different for each individual. So let's talk about a few people who have severe flow. They probably will not be comfortable involving in physical activity, but you can try to push them forward to do some activity during that time as well. So during the fourth week, the week before your next period, you may feel less energy as both estrogen and progesterone level falls only then when you start your menstrual cycle. So physical activity will help in preventing most of the premenstrual syndromes. So the few 4 to 10 days before your menstrual cycle starts, most of your syndromes, your mood swings, your you know cramps, your lethargy, everything kind of reduces if you're involved in physical activity regularly. So as we go ahead, so what do we see? Physical activity during periods. So you could, during your periods, you could just involve in walking, light cardio, aerobic exercises, some stretching, some of the yogic asanas. And so here in another paper of mine, I came across these wonderful asanas which would help people fight their premenstrual syndromes, which you do if you do on regular basis. It would help individuals, women especially, with their probably back pains, your cramping, and so asanas like the cat pose, child's pose, cobra pose, bow pose, fish pose, and shavasanas. So it's one of our favorite asanas for all. So shavasanas as well. So I'll be rushing through a bit because Krishna sir, do I have another 5 minutes to continue? Because I think it's been an hour. Is it okay? Hello.
Yes,
Another 5-10 minutes, sir.
ma'am.
Sir, could I have
Yes,
another 5-10
yes, yes.
minutes at the max?
You can continue, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
So physical activity during
Okay.
pregnancy. So when we talk about physical activity during pregnancy, uh, it is considered safe and beneficial for both the mother and the fetus in most pregnancies. Most pregnancies again here, with the necessary modifications. So exercise improves the health and well-being of both mother and child and infants during pregnancy and the postpartum period. So activities also helps during postpartum period. So what are the benefits we see? It helps you keep your healthy weight during and after your pregnancy. So usually after pregnancy, we see a lot of women who put on ample amount of weight is because we need to see to that we've been healthy pre, during, and post pregnancy. So, help you sleep better and feel less tired. Being physically active does not drain away your energy, it rather gives you more energy to be more active. You feel less tired, you can do a lot of other things as well once you are physically active. Reduces your chances of developing varicose veins and diabetes, especially in women post pregnancy. So it also reduces the likelihood of your ankles and your feet swelling up during pregnancy, reduces the chances of anxiety and depression. We see a lot of postpartum depression, which is also reduced because of physical activity, helps prevent back pain, reduces the risk of developing diabetes during your pregnancies, reduces the risk of problems with high blood pressure, reduces the time it takes to recover after delivery. So if you do some physical activity during your pregnancy, you are more likely to continue this after you have given birth as well, and therefore you get a long-term benefit out of this. Like uh, you avoid heart diseases, osteoporosis, high blood pressure, and probably breast cancer. So all these are avoided involving in regular physical activity over a period. So what is recommended? All women should be physically active throughout pregnancy. So I would add on to it, pre and post is a must. So say around 25 to 30 minutes moderate intensity of activity each week. This helps in decreasing the risk during pregnancy, complications during pregnancy. So what kind of activity? Activities such as aerobic activities. This is for the pregnant women, the women who conceived. Brisk walk, jog, swimming. Basically, an activity that makes you mildly sweaty or out of breath. So such activities which you will probably have to involve in. Then you have your resistance activities which are for 2 to 3 days per week. We'll talk of climbing stairs, walking up a hill, lifting or carrying lightweight bags, light weight training, probably not using heavy weights. And there are a few yoga postures which would also help in pregnancies. So this basically using your major muscle groups which are suitable only for pregnancies. So safety precautions, as each individual is different. When we talk of safety precautions, avoid excessive heat during physical activity. So it's not good for the mother or the fetus. Avoid activities that involve physical contact, like probably hockey, football, basketball. Avoid such activities. Or dangers of falling. Probably if you're on a moving cycle, instead use a stationary cycle or steel. Avoid such activities. Maintain adequate nutrition and hydration. Most important, hydrating your body and getting ample nutrition, as you have another one to take care of. Understanding the reason to stop. So you should know when you stop a physical activity. Consult a qualified healthcare person if you find any kind of a complication. It is very important to consult a doctor and therapist, as they are the ones who know your case history way better. So before involving in any kind of activity, talk to your doctor, talk to your therapist, and then you'll know what kind of an activity you could probably indulge in. So do not just say it's good and go start with some kind of an activity without proper consultation. So when we come to physical activity for menopause, so menopause is an important transition in a woman's life because she started her menstrual cycle from, say, probably the age of late children are menstruating from a very young age, probably from the age of 9, we'll say till the age of 45, 55. So menopause is that period where your cessation of menstrual cycle happens. So you do not menstruate anymore. So it's a big transition. So exercise during and after menopause offers many benefits. So what happens is prevents weight gain. So usually women tend to put on weight around their abdominal region. So this is prevented involving in physical activity. Women tend to lose a lot of muscle mass. This also is prevented. So it raises the risk of cancer. Exercising during and after menopause can help you lose excess weight, which mainly or maintain your healthy weight. This mainly protects you from various types of cancer, including breast, colon, or endometrial cancers. So it strengthens the bones. As I spoke earlier, as we reach menopause, as estrogen levels drop, we have a huge chances of fractures or osteoporosis. So when the bone mass reduces, so usually the bone mass in women starts reducing after the age of 35 at around 5% each year. This rapid reduction will not happen when we have already involved in physical activity prior. So reducing the risk of other diseases, excess weight. Having excess weight will lead to probably heart diseases or type 2 diabetes. So with regular exercises, we're cutting down on these risks. Boost your mood. So physical activities in adults, so it helps in reducing the risk of depression or any kind of mood swings. So it helps in boosting an individual's mood. So recommendation. So what is recommended as uh, everybody, as all the age groups, even in this, recommend say 20 to 30 minutes of moderate activities each day, or vigorous 15 to 20 minutes of vigorous activities each day. When it comes to aerobic exercises, something like brisk walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, dancing, or water aerobics is highly recommended. Then strength training. So say around two days a week, you can probably indulge in light weights like dumbbells or kettlebells, or light machine weights, or using resistance band. So gradually, if you're starting off in the beginning, start from gradual weights, increase your weights gradually. So again here, progression of intensity and load should happen. So as you get stronger, you know, if you're not feeling a strain on your muscle, you start using heavier weights. So stretching can help in improving flexibility. Set aside some time for stretching each day, pre and post workout, so the muscles are more, so when the muscles are a little warmer and they are more reciprocative to stretching, you can also indulge in practices like yoga on regular basis to improve the flexibility. So once your range of motion improves, risk of injury reduces. So stability and balance. When it comes to stability and balance, as spoken earlier, we tend to lose balance. We're more prone to varicose veins because of because of menopause. We're more prone to varicose veins, or balance, or our balance kind of hinders. So improving our balance exercises improve stability and can help it prevents falls, or for this you can try simple balancing exercises or simple yoga asanas. So physical activity for adults at the age of 65 and above. So till now, what I spoke about exercises during for children, that is common for boys and girls, because our body structure or the composition of the body is similar during those ages. Post, what is important for women is to take care of her health during menstruation. I just did talk about how it is important during that period of menstruation, and also spoke about what is important during menopause. So now, in general, when we talk about when it comes to adults, it is very important to keep in mind that as we get older, there are more complications pertaining to our physique, our physiological structure, our mental health. Hence, when either we recommend activities or when you're assisting an adult above the age of 65 in physical activity, their condition needs to be assessed, and modified activities accordingly needs to be recommended with the consultation of their doctor. So moderate activities, the same. Vigorous activities, the same. For additional health benefits, they can also involve in physical activity for above 60 minutes a day. For those with poor mobility, so who have poor mobility, uh, so people, if they have vertigo, especially women, so mobility, falls, or balancing problem, So then they can take part in activities like walking on toes, which helps in improving balance, heels, some balancing activities, again some asanas in that concern, and muscle strengthening. So it's important that some muscle strengthening activities are also you make them get involved in for around 2 or more days. So, as it comes to an end, I hope Koyal got a rough picture on why it's important for women to take part and why it's even more important to start young. As we all say, the fruits born by the tree is on what seed you put. So, the thought you need to fill in the thought of children being involved in physical activity, be it girl, be it a boy, especially for the girls, try to push them into physical activities so that they have a long-term benefit of involving in sports, long-term benefit of health, mental health, physical health, physiological health. Who doesn't want to feel good? Who doesn't want to feel good about what they are? So it's never about how long we live. It is always how well we live. And it is important to stay fit and healthy. So please do consider putting small, young, especially the girls into activities, motivate them. And it's not too late. If you have your daughters or your wives at home or your mothers at home, start encouraging them to go for walks. Start encouraging them. It's never too late. So by saying this, I would finish my presentation. Uh, thank you one and all for listening to this. If you all have anything, we could probably, Krishna sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, so if there are any questions, we could have the question and answer session.
Okay. 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 We have one question in the YouTube link. Okay, dear participants, it's time for the discussions. If you have any questions or clarifications, please put it in a chat box or you can directly ask question to the madam. Thank you, madam, for the sharing of your best knowledge regarding physical activity for the woman. Any clarification, dear participants, you can ask directly. It's a time for the discussion. You can put a questions in a chat box or you can else ask directly. Okay, ma'am. One question in the YouTube link,
Sure, sir.
ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
According to according to physiological variables, 13 to 15 years men or adults or women who have more aerobic training capacity. According to physiological variables, 13 to 15 years men or adult or a woman who is they having a aerobic training capacity
If I got the
between
question
13 to
right, are they asking if aerobic capacity of individuals between 13 to
yeah
15 years of age is at
yes
the peak?
yes
Uh,
between the age group of 13 to 15 years of men or means boy or a girl, is they having a aerobic training capacity?
so what I would like to tell you is only until and unless they've actually reached puberty and once they've started adulthood and their body function is at probably say when their body is functioning fine, only then, like with all their hormone secretion, being fine, only then can they actually involve in complete vigorous activity. So if you're talking of aerobic, again, remember that the muscles are developing, your lungs, your cardiovascular endurance develops. So that is what you need for your aerobic activity. At a very young age is the stage of growth. So it is still developing. And they can involve in they can involve in aerobic activity, but not for an extremely long duration. Say you cannot make them run
Okay.
for 60
Okay.
minutes continuously.
Yes, yes. You should be careful about that age of students. You should also apply for the sports training principles also there. Hmm?
Principles of sports training need to be
Also,
applied.
yeah, yeah. According to that level of intensity or frequency, duration, these are all the terms in sports training. So another question, ma'am.
Yes,
Mm,
sir.
how to get over of edema during pregnancy, and what its prevention?
Uh, could you please repeat it again, sir?
How to get over of edema? Okay, I think it's in
Okay.
chat box. Edema during pregnancy, and what its prevention? What are the prevention techniques or tips?
As to be very specific, I am not an expert on exercises for women, for mothers, or for pregnant women. For this, probably it would be helpful to contact a doctor or a therapist. But regular physical activities does prevent swelling, is what I would say, or edema as well. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Sorry for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, no problem. Then that you can contact even a gynecologist or a reputed doctor for the this edema during pregnancy. So another question, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Post workout session,
Mm-hmm.
how to soothe sore muscle, especially for the ladies after the
So,
workout.
okay, very interesting, but yes, it's not much, there's not much of a difference to soothe the muscles for the male or the female. Post workout, since your suggestion is kindly do your stretches pre and post workout. Pre workout, try to do dynamic stretches, and post workout, try to do active stretches. So, this would actually soothe your muscles. Do not go for a long jog and run and stop there. You need to do your stretches. You need to soothe your muscles before you uh, involve in any other daily routine.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you for this explanation and clarification of their doubt. So, any questions, dear participants, you can ask. You can type it in the chat box. I think Madam has explained each and every concept for the activity to indulge. What is the importance of activity to indulge and significance of the physical activity for the women especially, because women or even girls will hesitate to walk or even go outside the home also. So madam has clearly explained the important aspects regarding that physical activity for the woman. Any questions, dear participants, you can ask. Otherwise it's time for the conclusion of this session. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, madam, for the sharing of your knowledge and wonderful presentation on this topic. Hope our participants have been given a best knowledge from your side. On behalf of College of Horticulture and University of Horticultural Science, Bagalkote, I thank Dr. Chandana Eswari for special lecture on the woman activity, physical activity on women's. Thank you, madam.
Thanks a lot, sir. It was wonderful interacting with you all.
Yes, yes. Anything else you can talk, ma'am?
Hello.
Ah, you can. Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Actually, it was this topic was very interesting and it was actually more closely related to my PhD thesis as well. So there were lot more lot more information like related to women's hygiene, which would help most of them. And most of us being physical education teachers, we hesitate to talk to children about their cycle. We kind of it's such a taboo. We make them hush about it, and we'd be like, okay, you don't even come this side. Instead, if we can ask the children who come up with these problems, like not it's not a problem but it's natural, to just
Yes,
go for
yes.
a walk. So we kind of say, okay, you had your periods, you don't come to class. Instead of doing that,
Yes,
if we could just let them know the importance of activities. And
yes,
I think we have huge responsibilities on our shoulders after COVID, because
yes.
can be mainly developed only through good physical activities. So I think it's high time we all start concentrating on involving in physical activities.
Okay. Now, actually, another example. Recently, a woman who carrying, I think, 8 months or 9 months. I don't know exactly the month of pregnancy. She ran a event. I don't know the name actually. What is? I think her willpower is more than men also.
Yes, it's very important, sir, because
Yes.
once you feel good about the activity, only then can you see the benefits of an activity.
Yes,
So
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Once again, I thank on behalf of organizers. Thank you for the wonderful session, ma'am. Hmm?
would like to thank you all and your technical committee as well. So thanks a lot,
Okay,
sir.
okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, pleasure ours. Okay, dear participant. Tomorrow we will see at 10:45 a.m. Hmm? Today's quiz link will be shared afterwards. Hmm? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.